We're good. Wait.
The record button's blue.
Hang on. I don't have a memory card.
Uh-oh.
Well, we're live here, folks. To an empty chair.
So how about them Yankees?
Oh, jeez.
Everybody bear with me.
Don't get him going on Boston.
Rookie.
That's a rookie mistake.
Next time he does this, he'll be much better.
Yeah.
My fault.
You've only
done it 400 times.
I've only done 400 of these.
He's still learning.
We said that after the first.
Sorry,
400.
everybody. All right, we're back with another episode. First, the sponsors. I want to thank a few of them now. Volquartsen, Riton, 221B Tactical, everybody. Head over to the website, www.johnbartoloshow, and go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. Special thanks to Rhino Metals and Gallo Technologies. And, of course, everybody else listening on the website. Go check it out. Best way to support the show is to like, share, subscribe, everything. Guys, please help us out. We got a special show today, an industry spectacular. Pass me that McKellen. I can't even think till I have some. We got Brady Speth from Riton Optics. There he is. We got Suresh Madhavan from 221B Tactical. And we have Scott Volquartsen. We're going to be rotating people in and out. I'm excited about this. We're going to dive right in. We're all in town for an event with the UFC. Where do we begin, guys?
You're the host.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks
It's
for
great
having
to be
us.
here, yeah.
Close enough.
Listen, we did a lot of work to get here.
Right?
Is
Yeah.
this the future of the industry?
Yes.
Why?
Because we can do this. I think we talked about this. This has been, and I won't speak for everybody here, but this has been something that's years in the making. We've
Right.
talked about this for years. Me and you have talked about doing something like this. It's the future because us as business owners can control it.
Right.
We can have the events we want. We can invite the people we want. We can do it with partners that we get along with, that we like, not just everybody crammed into a one-size-fits-all industry experience. So
I like that answer. Yeah. I think you're right, Suresh.
I'm done. Cool.
Yeah.
It's thanks for coming.
And I'm done. Mic drop.
And I'm out. Post COVID. Well, I think are we still in COVID? Is it still going?
I would argue we're coming out of it.
Yeah, you're more optimistic than me.
Well, go ahead.
But I think this is the future of not only for the firearms industry or the defense industry, but for many industries. You're going to see, I think, smaller, more intimate events like this, not only for the reduction of size in crowds and people, but I also think now with the ability to stream and put events like this out to such a large platform. We've all been to the trade shows, and Scott and I were talking about this, that you spend tens of thousands of dollars for these big booths, these big displays, and you do all this work and put all this time and money and everything into it, and then afterwards you're dead tired, you're sick because you probably got COVID like I did at the last SHOT Show,
Right.
And you're like, wait, like
7 kinds of AIDS.
what exactly did we get out of this?
Right.
And it's not tangible, and then you start questioning what's the value of doing it. So I wasn't surprised to hear some of the larger companies backing out of SHOT Show. I wasn't surprised to hear about some of the more prominent companies who've been there for years taking a knee and bowing out. But I think you're going to see a lot of companies doing things in-house, building things in their own headquarters maybe, and having events that they'll invite people to, and just broadcasting it and give people the virtual experience as if they can be there, show off new products, have conversations, and it completely eliminates the need for these huge trade shows that are just like going the way of like the dinosaur.
Isn't it a little true though, guys, that this industry's been ripe for this for a really long time? that maybe like COVID just exacerbated, because nobody really cares about, and we talked about this 1,000 times, we beat it to death. Nobody really cares that the pouch has one less buckle, or the rail is 1 ounce lighter, or we went, before it used to be like we were M-Lock, now we're Key Mod, or Key Mod, and then we're going, and it was so fucking dumb. And that whole side of the industry is not an industry that I think needs to be catered to. What do you think, Scott?
I think if you look at the SHOT Show itself, I've been
Talking to the mic. Flip that up. There you go.
Let me try this again.
There you go. Yeah.
So I've been to probably 25 or 26 SHOT Shows, and the entire premise of the show has changed. Where when we first started going, it was where you wrote your orders. It was where you were able to display new products. But does anybody really not have a better way to do that now? And running these micro events, like these guys said, it's a fraction of the cost. You control the market, and ultimately you have a bigger reach, I think, anyway.
Right.
Because in my opinion, a lot of the SHOT Show has become a content creation show. What do? We go there and we stream it to
Right.
everything so people can watch.
Yeah.
So this way we're able to control that narrative.
And I think this is just an evolution of that.
Yes.
And I think that, listen, I'll say it because you guys won't. SHOT Show, if they do it, will be a disaster. NRA, if they did it, would have been a disaster. It would have been a total disaster. NRA got canceled because companies backed out, because companies smelled blood in the water, and they understood that there was no longer necessary. And that's going to continue to happen. And we've seen it, Scott and Suresh, you've seen it in the fitness industry.
Yep.
We've seen it die. We've seen it play out. And I think this is a micro version of that. I think we're seeing some of that. It was a little bigger and more prolific in the fitness industry in many ways, because we saw Flex Magazine die at the same time, and we saw Muscle Mag, we saw a lot of those things. So where it goes from here, I think, is the micro event, and I think is something like we're planning this weekend, which is a small, intimate VIP event with multiple people involved. Excuse me, COVID. I got the COVID. So I think we're at that point where we're at that next evolution. I don't think this is the final step.
No.
I think it'll continue to evolve, but I think what brands are figuring out, and I want to ask you guys this as owners, as you reclaim some of that money and you start to figure out where to put it and what to put it into, that's the critical mass. That's where you're going to make decisions that are going to affect your company for the next 5 and 10 years. But I think you're crazy not to be saying, at the very least, guys, we have to upgrade what we're doing in our building. Just running around with a cell phone and going out back and trying to make the back room look like Baghdad isn't going to work anymore.
We've seen that how many times?
Endless.
We've seen that how many times? And sadly, that's all most companies have. That's their strategy to how can we make this look cool with a cool background, and they are completely forgetting to address the why behind the product they're promoting. So you're showing the product and you're saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread or whatever, but now you're completely forgetting to give that grounded assessment as to why your product has a superior marginal utility and uncommon value over your competitor's product, and why that the person you're speaking to would even buy this product or needs this product in their life. And you're just really talking about, oh, hey, look at this thing. Look how pretty and tactical we can make it look. Oh, and that's it. And they're hoping, they're crossing their fingers, and they're saying, we're making this look really cool and really tactical with either the background or some girl with her breasts hanging out and her pants 3 sizes too small to sell this product. And that's why they're going to buy this product.
Yeah, I feel like if this didn't happen, we were headed towards being like a Coors Light ad. I'm dead serious, too. I feel like marketing was headed towards a Coors Light ad.
Yeah.
Because it just was getting to the point where it was like, oh, yeah, let's just get somebody with boobs and throw them out there. And it was just, there was no thought into it. There was no, like, what market does this open up? There was no conversation as to how to grow it and proliferate it. It was just like, oh, yeah, she has 100,000 followers and she looks good. Let's just have her hold a knife.
And that's it.
I mean, if that's your marketing plan, you may as well fucking get out. And that's horrible. But that was a lot of it. That happened a lot. Dave, I don't want to mitigate you because you are Dr. Dave Dolby. So, I mean, you are the resident PhD. What do you see?
It's exactly that. Especially the gun market. It's just, as we've said before, it's 70-year-old stuffy white guys. Mm-hmm. They've got to learn to reach the new media, reach the people. The people want more than just the commercial, the mag dump in the desert out back. How are you going to reach them? What are you going to give them? The market's cynical. We're in cancel culture. right now? How do you keep from being the target of that, but how do you still get out and engage them at the same time?
Amen.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a rough balance.
It is. It's not easy. Now, Scott.
Ammo's a great example because everybody's out there bitching that their ammo prices are too high, and they'll pick on a company because they've been loyal to that company, not realizing that the entire market went up. Winchester raised the price of components 13 times in 12
They
months.
motherfucked everybody.
And what that does to the entire industry.
Yeah.
You know.
Scott, I wanted to come to you because you did a great job building your brand using younger influencers that you felt weren't going to put as much risk out there maybe and be a very healthy approach to the brand. And you did a good job cultivating that atmosphere. And we talked about this last time on your podcast, on the podcast you did with me. I know you have your own podcast, and that's a good one to go check out. Where do you see the evolution of that in working with shooters and how that plays out as part of the game, especially professionals?
I think the whole competitive shooting thing is a whole nother market I think that needs to be updated big time. Or I think a lot of the competitive world is in trouble if we don't find a better way to stream that or to make the shooters more marketable in that. How many very accomplished shooters do we see getting passed over for what you guys said before, the girl in a bikini that can hold a gun? I mean, so at least from our standpoint, what we try to do is we want to find, if we're going to use influencers or shooter, to me it's more about
shooter athletes,
it's more who that person is. They have to have a story behind them. They can't just be a bunch of followers or whatever. They have to have a story behind them that people can relate to. Back to Suresh's point is why does a customer want to be part of this brand?
Right.
Whatever brand it is. It has to be more than just they saw it or we told them it was a great product. I feel like customers today want to be more bought into the brand and what's behind the company than what it was 15, 20 years ago.
I know it's a taboo topic, but I want to get into it. I mean, listen, the NRA obviously had a big celebration when Chipman didn't get the nomination, and that was the huge thing for them, and they came out in force and said, we're responsible for this, or this one's responsible for this. I see more of like a clamoring to at the top for who can get the headline, and I feel like that's the last breaths of a dying fucking thing. I mean, we were watching a movie last night. I feel like I'm watching like the last breaths right before it dies. You know what I mean? Implodes. And I feel like, the entities that we knew and we loved for a while and supported and gave a lot of money to.
Right.
Which kills me about the industry is everybody's so quick to give to the NSSF or the NRA, as they should be to a certain extent, but seeing what they do with the money, I feel like is such an egregious fail. What do you guys think?
No one ever asked.
Yes.
I mean, we can go down this rabbit hole, but as of late, we have seen over the last year or so that a certain organization that said that their cause was X, we found out that millions and millions of dollars that went to that organization actually did not go toward the people that they said that they were looking to help, or the cause. I was looking for a Riton hat, by the way.
I got you covered.
You have one? Do you know a guy?
Yeah.
And no one said a word.
Right.
No one said a word. Like, and we always talk about this. Like, where's the accountability and what's going to happen? I know that if I, Suresh, or you, Scott, or Brady, or you, John, went out, put forth an issue and said, I am raising money to in support of this cause or this issue, and you raised millions and millions of dollars,
tens of
millions of dollars, and ultimately it came out that you put less than 1% of that money into solving that problem or taking care of that social cause, and the rest of that money went to a political party and went to me buying homes and cars for myself and my family, and no one said we'd all be in jail. I think
absolutely,
we'd all be in jail for sure. We wouldn't be sitting here talking, but that actually happened in real life. Tens of millions of dollars were given toward this group, Black Lives Matter, and none of it has helped Black lives. It went to, and this is just fact, this is not my opinion, it went to the Democratic Party, and no one is saying a word. No one is saying boo. So the same, we have to look at, these organizations that have the money, that no one's looking into where the money's going. And for years and years and years, money is going to unknown places to
drapes.
To what? We don't know.
Suits.
And no one's saying anything. And then the craziest part is when it comes out to what happened to the money, nothing is done. No one's held accountable.
Well, and I think coming back to the point of, where it goes from here and kind of understanding the marketplace and what's been going on. I think all of these different modalities, these different factors, the politics, the COVID, the money, everything that we're questioning, I think it's a great time to be just having a conversation like we are and having podcasts to figure out where this industry is going to go. I think it's a natural evolution. I think people want to understand that a little better, because when we all first got into marketing our brands, you, everybody sitting out here that's going to jump on at some point, when we all started marketing our brands, we used Instagram, and then we became very Instagram centric. We stayed in that space and we felt safe about that space. Now, in many ways, trying to kick the door open to start to just open the conversation to figure out where it's going to go can lead to nothing but good things, I think. As long as people are open and people listen. The problem is at the top of those organizations, including BLM and including all these different entities, you have so much selfishness. And you have so much selfishness driving what drives the needle. And I think, Brady, you've been a pioneer for a long time in the business, figuring out what's going to work. And I think that's the way to do it. But there was always a fear to do that.
Right.
I
think the hard thing is we still live in this industry where people need to see our stuff, right? So that's the other side of like these events and different things like that, is we still live in this world of hands-on, right? I make scopes. You have to look through them. I can tell them blue in the face how cool they are and how good they are and how good they work and track and everything else, but you still need to be able to look through them. You still need to put hands-on. And I think that's the one thing we run into is you can post as much as you want on Instagram. You can tell whatever story you want on social media. But at the end of the day, we still need to have this outlet to get these physically into people's hands.
Boots on the ground.
Yep. And I think that's something that we've really pushed. And then I kind of want to jump back a second because I think we were talking a little bit about how do we actually sell what it is that we do. And I think each one of us, and why we're sitting at this table is we understand this, that what we do is not push product in people's faces. It's about us. It's about the people behind the brand. It's about the story behind the brand. It's about...
And that wasn't being told.
No, not at all. You can't do that with a pitcher. You can't do that with an ambassador. That has to be something that is done with podcasts, with different relationships, with other people using your products and getting that out there. And I think that's the one thing we tend to forget is the old guard. Dave kind of talked about it. This is an industry of, you got a bunch of 70-year-old white guys that are trying to run some of these organizations.
Too many old white guys.
They literally have no clue what it's like to actually go sell, for me who starts a business and actually has to try to get people to trust in a product. They have no clue what that's like.
Like, you all just experienced this, and I'll bring this up. This is a good one. I want to throw it back at all of you. I literally just had one of the most influential people in all of sports just walk in this building. And not only walk in the building, you all witnessed it, declare how much he loves not only the party and everything. I've never received I've said this 100 times. I've never received a call from the NSSF, the NRA, not anybody. No one's ever said, hey, how do we we're the first to do this. We're the first to do something like this. And I'm saying, imagine if we were given the resources that some of those entities have. $4.5 million was spent in Georgia on an election that was going down the fucking toilet. Yeah. That was a total fucking dumpster fire. And the NRA's like, oh, we put all this money into where the fuck is your marketing? Where the fuck are you supporting you guys? Where the fuck is the FFLs? Where's their support?
Right.
It's just, it feels to me like it's a clamoring for the mic time, for the Fox News mic time. It's a grind. Does that bother you guys that you've pumped money into these entities? All of you have. And they literally took the money, wiped their ass with it, and threw it in a fire. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, I think that you learn in time, as business owners, we've all made investments into certain domains that we have now looked back on and said, okay,
Never again.
never again, never again. Starting a company from scratch, I've done that quite a few times. So, and you know, you learn from it really quickly,
Right.
and sometimes you're like, oh man, that was a lot. That was a lot of money, and that didn't work. Okay, so but the alarming thing is when you see companies recognize that and then they keep doing it, and you start looking around, you're like, wait, are we in the twilight zone right now? Like, why are you continuing to pump money into an organization that is literally doing nothing for you, for your target audience? For you benefit zero. But what they were doing was, well, this is what we're supposed to do.
Like the mafia.
This is what we have to. We have to. It's like the Italian restaurants. Who's taking your garbage? This guy. Why? Because that's who takes your garbage.
Right.
that's who comes takes your garbage.
Yeah.
You know. Well, these guys are cheaper.
Well.
This is who takes your garbage.
Amen, yeah.
Oh, okay. You know. So it's like you're like, well, what are we doing here?
That's a good way to put it, huh, Dave?
Oh yeah.
That's a great way to put
That's
it.
it.
Yeah,
Right?
It's true.
You know, East Coast, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
So it just, and you just got into that rut, and no one ever stopped to say, hey, why are we still doing this? Why are we still, like, why don't we just do something on our own to kind of target our audience and get them to really understand the why behind who we are? Like, I always tell people, for most men, high school is the last time they were part of a team, and women too. So the last time you were part of a group, a team,
Right.
you traveled on a bus together, you all wore the same uniform, you went to games, you had the pep rally, you know, the candy sales, everything. You were part of a team. After high school, the majority of us never have that experience ever again. So, but as humans, as social beings, we kind of need that experience and we long for it, whether it's openly, like we may not sit around and like tell our friends like, oh, I wish I was part of a team again. But deep down, that's what we want to do. That's what led to the success of CrossFit. That's what led to the success of a lot of other things, that people felt like they belonged to something again. So part of our branding at 221B, and I know, Scotty, you do it, Brady, you do, where you get a product and it's not like I just transacted and I got a scope. No, actually, part of what I did, once I opened this box, it was an experience, and now I feel like I'm a little bit part of a community, a family, where I actually belong to a team. I'm on the team of, I use Riton scopes, I wear 221B tactical apparel, I shoot a Volquartsen firearm, because now you have a belonging, and now you have that community, and most people lose that after high school sports.
Yeah.
You never get that, and that's what we all want. That's why people, when they go to a gym or they belong to some kind of golf club, they got the shirt with the logo on it because, hey, we're on the same team, you know. And now that's what people.
But why is it, as a marketing director, when you go to brands and you say, we got to do a better hat, we got to do a better shirt, we got to do like the little things, why is it so many owners are like, what do you mean? Like, my grandfather designed this hat 80 years ago. You know what? You laugh. You laugh. I've had conversations with all of you behind the scenes that operate that way. So fuck you, fuck you, and fuck you. So it's hard, right? It's not easy, but you go through that evolution. And as an owner, it's very hard because you have to be open. And you have to be open to what your marketing directors say, and you have to be open to what these guys say, and you have to listen to what the market tells you. You know, don't shake your head, Brady.
I see him over there sitting back there.
But you have to be a little open, and it's within the scale, you know, of what you're gonna do. Like, no one should, you know, when you're trying to forge into new areas, it's always scary. I don't want to mitigate that. But you get owners that it's like, hey, we got to buy a snapback and not a Velcro hat. What do you mean? My uncle designed that hat. Why is that still exist?
I have a couple reasons for it. One, I won't speak for everybody here. My uncle or my grandpa didn't design any of it because I'm the one who started the company. So I think the problem is a lot of the steadfast old big companies in our industry are generational.
Hang on, Dana White call. We got to call him back. We're gonna tell. We're on air.
Yeah.
We're going hot with Dana White. I don't know. Hey, we're on air. What are you doing?
Sorry. What, you're doing your podcast?
Yeah, you're on air. You're live right now.
Oh, I'm fucking the whole thing up, huh?
No, you're perfect. You're on air. You're right now. Everybody's listening to you.
Oh, great. Yeah. Call me later.
Oh shit! I'll call you right after.
That's hilarious.
Bye. Call me later. Oh, that's a clip.
Don't get that anywhere than the Bartolo show.
I know. But Scott, you went through this, and I know your dad was deeply involved with the company. I mean, what did you see? How did you overcome some of those barriers?
Just being willing to stick. Well, first of all, I say too many people are worried about measuring it by ROI. And you have to be, I think the other part of that is people are too afraid of, as soon as somebody negatively criticizes when you go into a new venture, like when we tried bridging the gap between fitness and firearms or whatever
Yeah, people thought you were crazy.
Yeah, as soon as you do it, people are like, why are you doing that? And too many people bail immediately.
Yeah.
Why is that though? Like, why does that exist? I don't understand. When you know this because we do martial arts. So when you do jiu-jitsu, it's very open. You go to the mats, everybody's like, come on down, let's have a good time. Why does this industry have that, like, you're in, but you're not? This is in, but this isn't. When we're all trying to just sell something.
Well, jiu-jitsu is a great example of how you quickly realize doing the thing that you've either A, always done, or B, intuitively think because of your background of obviousness won't work, or because of your background of obviousness you think will work, you quickly learn because you're getting choked, you're losing consciousness, or you're about to get a limb dislocated, that, oh, I got it. You don't have that instant feedback in business. When it comes to business, you hear someone say, for example, we've talked about, what's part of your marketing plan, X, Y, and Z. Have you thought about podcast? And people.
Oh my God! Burn the building down.
What? Wait, what do you mean podcast? Like a Joe Rogan, or what are you talking about? Podcast?
How dare you?
Like do like a podcast. Bring someone in, create a podcast in house, use it as a marketing and a branding tool, and they're like, what? Wait. So if you do that in jiu-jitsu, where you're like, someone says, hey, listen, you gotta grab the sleeve and kind of pull it towards you when their arm is coming at you, and your intuitive thing is their arm is coming at me, I want to push it away. You know that's going to lead to a very bad situation. You're going to push it away and you're going to get arm barred. And that into everything in your body is telling you that this person who's trying to break you, push them away from you. And the second you do that, you're going to be feeling a lot of pain. People see things in business, they're like, podcasting, but that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to do that. What's the ROI on that? Who knows? Right? So like you said, like you have that fear of, well, if I don't know what the ROI is going to be, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Well, what are you going to do? Well, what's known? Oh, are you going to go take an ad out in a magazine? Recoil
Jesus
magazine
Christ.
Or something? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, you have no... to get out of that comfort zone is very scary. It's very scary. But the top 1% are the people who try different things and go into different domains and say, you know what? I don't know. Let's talk about like firearms and fitness. Let's talk about bringing in firearms and the UFC. Let's do this and let's throw something at it and see if there's a synergy there. The people who instantly say, what? That makes... no, let's just take out this Facebook ad. Those people are dead. They're dead.
Do you think part of that is our industry to some degree gets away with it because every 4, 6, 8 years we have something happen where it doesn't matter how bad your marketing is or what you're doing, you sell everything that you can produce?
Yeah.
And so that way they can validate whatever decisions they were making and like, see...
Oh, I work for
I told
owners
you this
like
would
that.
work.
I can tell you owners about like that.
I don't think we get held to this. The companies in our industry don't get held to that same standard, because if you look at some of like the major companies that are successful, that constantly have to be adapting to what's going on in the market. One, you're 100% right. It's got the we have things that happen like Sandy Hook, or we have things that happen like gun control measures or different things like that, and you'll see a crazy run, and you could have the worst marketing department in the world and sell everything you can produce. Every 4 years we see it, right?
We're coming off an 18-month run of that.
Yeah, every 4 years we
Right.
see it. COVID, you see it. We see that all the time. And then I think the bigger side of that is, I'm so tired. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, I know where you're gonna go.
The side of it that's like, well, that's the way we've always done it, and we see these things of like, well, you've always done that because you're a 5th generation guy who runs this company. When you're a 1st or 2nd generation, or you've been in business for a short amount of time, you don't have that luxury. You don't have the ability to be like, well, that's how we've always done it, so we're just gonna keep doing that and not piss off shareholders or not. No. When it comes to my responsibility and the buck stops here for putting food on the table of my employees, I'm willing to do anything, and I'll try it. And if it doesn't work, I'll pivot to something else now. And that's the other thing, is the unflexibleness of some of these major companies.
Yeah.
And you just don't ever see that because this is the way it's always gone, and we'll just see this. And to your point, it does this, and they look like heroes every 4 years.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. I've said this many times. We all agree at this table, and I'm sure our grandparents did, and even Dave's grandparents.
That's like your great grandparents, right? That's what you're trying to say.
So that change happens, and change is gonna happen, and we can't escape change.
Right.
But if you know that and you admit that, and I think any sane person does, are you going to continue making a pamphlet and handing it door to door?
Apparently, I just got an email today from Springfield. They're starting a magalog. You can sign up for the first 4 issues for free.
Fuck. They were on the
Paper
right track with the
magazine that They're going to
Hellcat.
send you. And yeah, they just completely reversed course, 180'd it out.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, they should do a little black and white 2 inch by 2 inch square in the back of the magazine.
Yes.
Here, rip this out, mail this in.
Mail it in. Proof of purchase. Jesus Christ, like a cereal box.
Tape a penny to this coupon and send it in.
But it's amazing to me in this era of NFTs, crypto, Bitcoin, all these other different things, these insanely game-changing things. Even the guy out on the other day, the sports card guy, game-changing things come into play. And you still have people that are like, we're going to change the game. We're doing a magalog. Hey team, get together. We're going to do a booklet. Now, can you hit more people with a booklet, or can you hit them with an ad? You can hit them with an ad. Then everybody says, well, you can't run ads. No, you can't run ads with a gun in the picture blowing something up. But if you have a podcast or a vlog, or you have another avenue, or you get into these other mediums, you can start to use some of those tools, and you can start to utilize them, and you're starting to see ways to circumvent the system and to play the game. I think that there's a very closed-minded approach, and it's not just because it's like, this is the way we've always did it, but that's a lot of it. I think there's the component of, like, this is safe. This is safe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll buy the ad. But the funny thing is, they don't know the ROI of the ad. They don't know the ROI of the banner. Like, everybody's like, we bought a banner at SHOT. What the fuck is a banner at SHOT going to do for you? What the fuck? Nobody at SHOT is buying anything. Call me a liar.
Well, it's not. One, it's not allowed. Two, when you pay $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for a banner or something to be
A urinal cake.
but whatever, yeah, like everyone knows how much Daniel Defense spent at SHOT Show. Is there any way to tangibly track the return?
I'm not saying it's wrong either.
I'm not saying it's wrong either, but from a logistical standpoint and a number standpoint, is there any way to track how much money was generated into Daniel Defense by having the thing that you pissed on in the urinal at SHOT Show?
The target. I know.
There's right? I'm not kidding. So but then you also will have some of these conversations that I've had with people who call and they say, and you've been privy to some of these conversations. They're like,
God.
how did you started your company in your garage, and now it's a multi-million-dollar company. You got you're all over the world, whatever. How did you grow? And they're picking your brain, and then I'll say something to them like, I'm like, okay, so what are you doing for marketing and branding and networking? Okay, hey, do you guys have a TikTok? And they're like, what? That's for kids.
Oh.
And I'm like, you're dead. You're dead. You're done.
We had this talk many times.
It's like, wait a sec. If you automatically are going to say to someone, no, that's not for me, or that's not what I'm going to do. One of the things, the two things that I say kind of counter each other. I tell people, and you know what everyone wants to know, and like one of the most powerful things you can say if you want to be a successful business person or entrepreneur or whatever, is no. But one of the things I'll say in marketing meetings is, let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. Even if it's something I never heard of, I'm like, what is that? Okay, if it's something new and it's different, let's give it a try. And we'll give it a run for 30, 60, 90 days. We'll track the metrics and we'll say, okay, let's keep doing it. How many conversions did we get? What have you. But to say, I don't know anything about that, let's not do that, that's the dagger. That's the dagger that I see so many companies fail at. And then they'll come back around and they're like, yeah, I don't know why that didn't work out. And I'm like, well, I know why that didn't work out.
Because you can't get a little bit pregnant.
Right.
Christ. Simple.
There you go.
Either go in or don't. And I'm not saying, and to everybody listening, I'm a huge fan of the marketing directors of the industry, and that's what I support a lot of, because I feel like they're the unheard minority. But I there's always scale, right? Like when little Timmy comes to you and says, hey, we want to spend $10,000 on this, you might, or $1 million on that, you might be like, whoa, we got to scale. Well, let's look at it.
Right.
But we can't go all in like that. You know, so I understand as an owner, you have to look at dollars and cents. You have to understand those things. You can't be in 20 areas at once. Don't get me wrong. The pro I'm going to say about the urinal cakes and the banners and the things like that is, if an owner comes to me, if Scott comes to me and says, John, I want to be everywhere, then that's different. If you got Marty Daniel money and you want to just be everywhere and you want to be the urinal cakes, then be the urinal cakes.
Right.
I mean, it's simple. How you make those decisions with your team and how you sit back and analyze it, I think to Suresh's point, is the key, you know, and understanding, well, maybe we can give bags to that venture, or we can do this. I'm seeing the beginnings of it starting to open up. I don't know what you guys see. I think events like this, like what we're going to do, which is totally unprecedented, nobody's done, are going to be the first step towards some of that. I think people are going to see what we're doing on the range tomorrow. And if you get an opportunity, tune into everybody's channel, 221B, Riton Optics, and Volquartsen. We're going to have a lot of stories going up, but we're going to be hanging with some of the best and brightest of a great industry that people want to be a part of. That's been super good, not just to the party, to the Second Amendment, to a lot of things, and has a great leader that was just in this bill, just on the phone, and has, you know, tremendous upside. Why, the $1 million question is, why is that not being explored more if it makes so much sense? And why is it so hard for owners to understand? To get into this area, you're not going to get into it for, like, just because you're waving hello. You have to be committed. You have to get on a plane.
Well, I think Suresh said it perfectly. And you'll get some nods from my marketing team back there. Try everything. I'm not afraid to try anything. Don't be dumb enough, and if it fails, try it twice. If it fails, pivot.
Move on,
pivot, right? But don't be afraid to try anything. Why is it that we limit ourselves to the stereotypical firearms owner, right? Guess what? Everybody that we're going to the range with tomorrow, and everybody within the UFC organization, has been 100% behind firearms and everything we do. We go to overland expos with Jeep guys. Every one of them carries a gun in there. But yet, why are we the only firearm company or firearm industry company at this event?
Yeah.
Start looking outside of the standard of like, oh, let's just go to a gun range. Let's just go to this. Let's just go to that. And I think the problem is exactly to what he said is, unfortunately, in the bigger organizations, people are afraid to speak up. People are afraid to raise their hand. People are afraid to like, and be that one that stands out that says, hey, maybe we should try this. Why? What's the motivation for somebody in a large organization to do that?
Right.
They're not going to put their job, they're not going to put their careers at risk. They're just going to kind of go along with what's been going on.
Yeah. I had a big marketing director, you've heard me say this, I had a big marketing director say once that if you do the same idea over and over again, you'll have a job. You present something new and it fails, you'll be fired.
Yep.
Why does that mentality exist amongst owners? Some, not every.
I don't think it does at this table. That's why we're sitting here. So I don't know that I mean, you guys might have the answer to that, but
it obviously worked for Remington, right?
Right, but no one hoard their brand out better. Maybe Browning. Maybe Browning.
Yeah.
Browning's the king.
Oh.
You go to that booth, you don't know what they're selling. They're selling shaker bottles. I mean, Brady, they're in everything more than you, and that's crazy. Like they have shower curtains. They got, you see that logo everywhere, and I give them credit for that. But there is a lot of confusion in there. I'm like, what are we doing? Are we selling fucking
Yeah,
bottle
but you have to
openers?
look at it. They had the buck mark, and
Yeah.
for a while they did really great with the buck mark as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was showing up to SHOT wherever, and they were tattooing that. Anytime you
Yeah.
get them tattooing your brand,
It's genius.
you got something.
Yeah.
You got the license, but they've lost. They've moved into 1,000 different products, but they lost that lifestyle. What they were truly
It became a
trying to market
licensing
for.
company.
Right.
Essentially, they
Yeah.
became a license. I mean, when you see that stuff, Scott, that's not something I would ever envision for Volquartsen. I mean, that's not. I mean, just selling licenses, I think, is a dangerous thing. Then it dilutes it.
Well, and I think you lose that control of what your brand becomes.
Yes.
If you're
Good
selling
point.
licensing
Yeah.
to everybody else,
Yeah.
you're not controlling who's being involved with it.
I'll give a counterpoint to that, yes and no. Because when you
It's good
get
and
into the
bad.
hunting industry and you look at the camo companies, you know, what does Mossy Oak make? Nothing. What does Real Trade make? Nothing. They make nothing but the camo pattern,
that they license out.
and then they've got you know, just a kick-ass marketing team that will help any company who's licensing their brand and going forward. So there is a model to do that. I agree. Maybe not, you know, if you make a, you know, product,
rifle.
a single rifle, a scope, or whatever, you may not be able to license, you know, because you're a great scope company, you may not be able to license over into shower curtains or what Browning did as a lifestyle company. But there is a market for it if it's done and you've got the right model, right product.
I agree. I don't disagree. I think Browning's an interesting one because they have probably the most brand recognition. I believe there was a study done recently that SIG cited. We looked at it that Remington and Browning. One of the reasons Remington even sold was beyond the ammo capacity was the branding, and that's where that becomes important. And I don't necessarily all these things we're bringing up. I don't necessarily think that they're wrong. Matt brought this up. Matt Wolf from Inforce, who couldn't be here because he fell off a mountain on his motorcycle. Shout out to Matt.
Miss you, Matt.
Yeah, we miss you.
Yeah, we miss you, Matt.
But yeah, send Matt a message. I just had his dirty laundry. So love you, Matt. So, you know, I think that there's layers, right? Like you can get to a point where you can be there. The fear Scott brought up and we talk about is what Browning is. Do you lose sight of where you want to be, where you really should be, or are they going where they should be? Like what's running that hen house? You know what I mean? Is it the rooster? What's in charge? You know, we here to do shaker bottles or good shotguns or good ammo. You know, and that's a conversation I'm sure they have internally quite a bit. You know, because you've pivoted your brand a bit, and you're going to pivot it even more because you're expanding and you're growing as you are, and you look at those things and you say, is this in line with what we do, right? Is this make sense? And when you go through that process, I imagine you have to determine some very difficult things.
It's really difficult. It's funny you hit on something. So people who follow me on not the business page but my personal page know that I'm a fan of vehicles and
Cars.
Jeeps and Raptors and things like that. But I've gotten, as of late, a lot of messages from people who have said, hey, have you ever thought about, or would your company ever make this for Jeeps? And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Feedback,
would.
yeah.
Maybe we would. If there's enough demand, why would I say no? And just like you said, pivoting into something to say, I
need to look at that.
The nail in the coffin would be to respond, no, we're a tactical gear company.
Right.
We don't do that. Where my response from the team who sends that in to me, I'm like, how many messages do we get about asking that? And they're like, I don't know. We've gotten about 12 over the last couple of months. I'm like, okay, all right. So maybe this is something we would consider making for the seat for inside of a Jeep or for something for the back of a Jeep. It's tactically oriented, and the Jeep community is huge and
It's like our cousin, yeah.
loyal. You know, so why wouldn't we? So of course now we're developing things for Jeeps, and you know we have some exciting things that are going to be coming out. You'll see, but that's how you pivot and move. That's not going to say we're going to now step away from law enforcement or people who are into hunting or tactical readiness or whatever. But you have to now say to yourself, let's give it a shot. It may not work. It may be a complete fail. Who knows? But we're going to make a run at it. And if it is something good, and we're always going to go after the things that don't currently exist, that there's a demand for. So the products that we have in development are things that don't exist for people who own Jeep Wranglers right now.
Right.
And that's the only thing we're doing. We're not going to look at something that some other company or 10 other companies make for Jeeps that you could find on, like, fourwheelparts.com. No, people are saying, I would really love if someone made this. And no one makes it. And if someone made it, I would buy it in a heartbeat. And I would pay a lot of money for it. So you say, okay, great. Now, I know that it's easier for us because we make soft goods and we make, other things like that. It's easy. And one of the things is you can have that crossover pretty easy. I always wondered, and I want to ask Scott this. I know there's a little bit of, and I want to know how you deal with this. I know there's a little bit of a stigma if you are openly supporting and promoting a firearms company. So I have Matt. Who was it? Lena. She gave me the little gator, little gator that said Sig Sauer on it.
Yeah.
So that last event we were at. So I was wearing that at the airport, and a woman came up to me, and she's looking, saw the thing, and she said, "Oh, are you some kind of gun nut?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like, no. I said, someone gave this. Well, of course I own multiple SIGs, but I didn't tell her that in that. But I was like, oh no, so I got this for free at an event I was at. A girl gave it to me, so I just needed a mask, so I just put this on. But I know that there's people out there that probably don't put a sticker on their car or maybe wear something openly because they may support you, but they're also afraid of what the people around them may say and that stigma. So how, from a marketing standpoint, how do you kind of get around that?
So first I'll say I think it's getting better.
I think it is too. Yeah, I think it is
I think
too.
more people becoming accepting. A lot of the last year and a half stuff, they've become more accepting of owning firearms. But for a while, we would try to get around that, and we would use just like our logo or just our last name.
Yeah.
And finally, we've made a conscious decision. We're like, we're going to own what we do, and we do still get flack. We get people that won't buy our shirts or won't buy our hats, won't put a sticker on just because it says firearms on it. But the way we see it is I feel like for every person that won't do that, you have one that will do it because it says firearms.
Yep.
And the idea is you just have to not stop, right, Scott? Like, you see somebody like a Dana White who's worn your shirt and your shirt. And it's just you have to keep pounding against that wall. And as I said before, from the political culture standpoint, and we'll get into this for what it's worth, I said this the other day, the hardest part you have is we're willing to use boxes from our side of the house. We're willing to use boxes. And from our side of the house, I mean from the right, the Republican side. We're willing to say if you're a racist, need not apply. If you're a this, need not apply. Like, we don't want to be associated with that. But as far as protecting the rights we have today and going forward and protecting the lifestyle that we've all worked hard to build, we want to protect those things. But the left doesn't want to say, you know what? The Green New Deal is a noble thing, but that's a little far. You never see them put something in a box. And that's what's troubling. And that touches on a little bit of what you're saying. It's why should you be afraid that you're a proud gun owner? There's a lot of them running around. Did you see COVID? I saw it. I mean, all your shelves are empty because of it. Mm-hmm. All of you.
And the interesting thing about that, and this is where I've kind of shifted when I travel or I'm talking to somebody, is I would used to try to size them up and be like, is this a conversation I want to have right now?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, so she had the right to call you a gun nut because you had it on. They don't hold back.
No, they don't.
So why do we shy away from that conversation?
Great point.
When
Yeah.
Great point. Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah, I mean, it's the party of peace and love and unity. Yet on social media, I've had more middle-aged white women call me a racist in the last year than I can count. And I'm like, first of all, clearly you haven't gone to my profile. And if you have gone to my profile and you've seen what I look like physically, and you're still calling me, so you're
black?
Like, you're like a middle-aged white woman, and you have the stay home, wear a mask, Black Lives Matter ring around your profile photo.
Right.
Okay, got it. And you're posting about, oppression and police this and all that stuff. Yet you're telling me to shut up and I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm a racist because I said something that you personally don't align with. It wasn't an opinion of mine, it was a fact. I shared a fact, and you're saying, well, those facts don't matter. You got to talk about the people being affected, and I was like, facts don't matter. So, and you're a racist. So that's what we're dealing with, and that's what you're going up against. And you're right, they don't have fear.
None.
They'll openly call a man with black skin racist because it doesn't align. What I'm saying doesn't align with what their feelings or their emotions are, and they just don't care. That these people have no fear of I can't call this guy racist.
Well, Nicki Minaj just went through this.
Nicki Minaj. Oh my God.
I'm ready to buy the albums.
Oh my goodness.
I'm buying them.
Oh my goodness.
I'm buying them. I'll go on Amazon.
I'm buying the CD.
I'm gonna. Is the CD still a thing? I'm in.
I'll get the
Dave,
CD.
go on iTunes, buy them all.
Buy the CD. Nicki
I'm
Minaj.
gonna play. Super Bass will be in. Don't play it because we'll get copyrighted. Shout out to Tupac Shakur too. I'm glad he's alive. It's good to see you in the chat.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Tupac. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
It really is. It's crazy. And what Nicki went through, she literally just said, "Hey, one of my friends, I'm not gonna he said his nuts didn't work, but whatever." He was like an
after he got the jab.
Fuck. It was after he got the jab, it was like an off the cuff remark.
Yeah.
And everybody was so quick to be like, "You bitch, we'll find you." And I feel like that's indicative of where we are today. It's like anytime you want to say anything that goes against what the bullet points say when Fox News gets them, or CNN or MSN or any of them, we're stuck saying what the fuck?
And you gotta, it's troubling to see the levels people are going to. I don't know if you saw that mother that I posted on Facebook, her daughter, and it's horrible, but her daughter, 15 years old, got the vaccine. They were, all about it, totally in, and her daughter's now like a vegetable after getting the vaccine. And we're not here to talk about whether it works or not, whether you should get it or not. This is just a story.
The choice.
This is a story about a mother who got her daughter vaccinated after listening to everything, and because she felt that was the right thing to do for her daughter, and her daughter is now in a vegetative state as a result of it. Her daughter was perfectly healthy, no health problem. So she went on Facebook and shared her heartache of a story, and two things happened. She was attacked by people for sharing her story, and then she got blocked by Facebook for sharing misinformation. Where
It was 100% her story.
it was her story of what happened to her own child. And people were attacking her, saying, "How dare you share this? You're spreading fear and misinformation." And then she got blocked. If that doesn't terrify the average person, I don't care who you are and what side of the aisle you're on, if that doesn't terrify you as an American citizen, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. We were talking about great men earlier, and one of them just walked in the room. We're talking
fuck.
We're talking about Mark.
You gotta dish this side. It looks like Jesus Christ. Happy birthday, Bruce. It's his birthday tomorrow. Yeah, shout out to Bruce.
Happy birthday early.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, he's killing it. So,
So we look at that and we say, man, that's disturbing.
terrifying.
That is disturbing. That is disturbing. And the mother of of one of the Marines that got killed in Afghanistan.
Oh, fuck.
She posted her heartfelt message on Instagram.
Right.
They took it down.
Yep.
They took it down. They deleted her account. She had 4 followers. She was like a mom. She was like a mom on Instagram. She had 4 followers, and they deleted her account.
Ran her out.
Tells you the level that they'll go to.
Well, it's like, what? Are you kidding? She just talked about her son was killed, and she just shared her story of her heartache. So I see things like that, and I say that should terrify everyone in this country.
Yeah, amen. And you know what is crazy to me, and I just want to get all your thoughts. Like, Nicki Minaj got crucified for that.
Horrible.
LeBron James goes out and says, "We're coming for you," to the cop that saved that woman's life. We're coming for you.
Yeah.
And the left is like, everybody's like, yeah, never forget. We're going to get you, Mr. Police Officer. What the fuck? What is that?
Yeah, he's a hack. He's a hack. I feel bad for him.
It's everywhere, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this morning. I saw an Instagram post. #natural immunity. You can actually
saw that.
It tells you to either see more or go to like the CDC website.
Or burn the house down.
But if you click on see more, it says we're not going to show it to you.
Yeah.
No kidding. I didn't want to click it. I was afraid I'd get canceled.
Wow. You thought it would be like the COVID black guy that's like, with the 12-inch dong. You thought it was... That's what he thought. Everybody's afraid to click anything now because of that. And the poor guy's dead. I mean, honest to God, I hope his family's making money on it.
I thought that was like a Photoshop thing. That guy was real?
Yeah.
Oh, someone just
you wish. You wish.
Someone just sent me that again. I'm like, again,
he's back. He's back. Everybody in this room knows exactly what I'm talking about, and everybody listening does too.
Everyone knows too. Yeah, they know. They've seen it. And they've sent it to someone.
Yeah. That's a fucked up thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to click on that because I'm like, oh my God, they're going to know. They're going to know that.
They're going to get me on a list.
Yeah. Oh, there's a list.
I know. I posted it.
You posted it.
I put it in the story. I go, if you all
right.
did. And I post that stuff, guys, in a subtle way that I'm like, in case you're thinking about it. And I think that's how we all approach it. It's like, let's do our research. Let's figure stuff out. The right to choose if you want to get it. But if somebody wants to say, whether it's Nicki Minaj or Bruce Cardenas or Jesus Christ wants to say, hey, listen, I got the poke, and after my nuts didn't work. Okay? Is that like we need to go we need to get him?
They're done. That person, they're going to go after him. They're going to take him out.
Hold on. You guys just glassed over this. John Bartolo just said he posted something in a subtle way.
Unknown.
In the story.
Unknown.
No one said anything.
Yeah.
Let me point that one out.
Well, the problem is I become like this guy who's like, oh my God, But it's like, am I saying anything crazy?
No.
I think it's what everybody's thinking because I'm on the phone with all of you.
You don't have to say anything crazy anymore. Now you just speak the truth and you're getting canceled. And no one really. So there's a certain element of people you probably all know that have said, hey, if this happens to you, you got to like hit back and go after them and like fight. But the reality is,
don't do it, John Cena.
Like you can't the mentality of most people on a certain side of the aisle is, well, we can't fight City Hall. Right. What are we gonna do? Fight Instagram? What are we gonna fight Facebook? Like, what do you do? You can't fight them. So what's happening is more and more people are just saying, well, I don't want to get my account canceled, so I'm gonna like just stop posting that stuff and not talking about that, and that is the slippery slope.
Here's the question for you: when the president of the United States can't fight them, what does that do? What's the solution to that?
Well, the solution to it's Biden, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Because sooner or later he's going to become a better story as an idiot. Sooner or later the media will turn on him. And the reason they're dragging out the COVID thing, dragging it all out, is because they need a story. CNN needs a story. It's a 24-hour news cycle, guys. It's a 24-hour news cycle.
But CNN doesn't talk about Biden. So I was in the gym the other day, and as you know, sometimes the TV's on, right? And
they talk about Trump.
I'm not a guy that goes and changes the channel. Right. So when I walk in, whatever's on is on. I don't care. It doesn't matter. So it was like, the professional frisbee league was on. I was like, this is a thing? Are you kidding me? Pro frisbee. So CNN was on for an hour. For an hour, they did not mention President Biden once. The entire time they talked about President Trump. And it was shocking. And then on the other TV is Fox News. And of course, the entire time, they're talking about either issues or Biden, who is currently in charge. And issues with the country or issues with Biden. But it was actually alarming to see an hour of television talking about the man that hasn't been president for months. And that's just how it goes. There's no, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? They're just perseverating on that because, like you said, they're starting to kind of talk about the things that the gaffes and like the cognitive issues. They're starting to talk about it because some of them you can't not talk about.
Right.
But like when they brought that one reporter was interviewing someone on his staff the other day, and I don't know if you saw it, like his wife was giving a speech. Jill was giving a speech, and literally as she was speaking mid-sentence, the president just kind of like looked around like aimlessly for a second, and he just walked away. She was mid-sentence, right? So shortly after that, someone was talking to someone from his staff, and the guy didn't ask what happened with that. So he said, "Oh well, how about this? What about this? Okay." And he was
she should be in jail.
And I said that, and the clouds are beautiful, whatever. And as a reporter, if you in that moment say, the president just walked away during his wife's speech, like unexpectedly. Was there an emergency? Did he have to what was that about? He didn't even ask. So even reporters are like walking away from it. So it's alarming.
Yeah.
It's alarming. It's terrifying.
And I think he's gonna get. I think that administration. I shouldn't say he because I don't think he's thinking at all. I think what's gonna happen is that administration is gonna figure out different ways to torture us when they move on from COVID, and figure out how they can infringe upon our business, our life, anything to maintain that control. And that's what hurts us in our businesses. And that's what affects us. And they're using social media right now as a way to do that. And that's why you have to be on multiple platforms. That's why you have to be in multiple spaces. You can no longer depend on the tit of Instagram. You have to be everywhere. Like if I was going back into my office and I was running every one of your marketing brands, I'm like, we need to be on Twitter. We need to be on LinkedIn. We need to be everywhere. So if they awake the sleeping giant and we start taking that seriously, that will go further than any donation you'll give to the NRA or NSSF. I promise you.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where events like this is so important, because regardless of what the platform is or whatever, if you can build a network and relationships, that'll transcend Instagram, Twitter,
They
LinkedIn.
can't stop that.
I mean, they can't stop me calling Suresh on the phone and saying, "Hey, I need a favor." Call Brady and say, "We want to set this up with some optics."
I agree.
And they also can't stop someone saying, "Hey, I just either saw this event virtually, or I was at this event, or I know someone was at this event. They got this great firearm, or they got this great optic, and so I bought one, and I too like it. This thing's awesome. You got to check it out." They can't stop that word of mouth spread.
Yep.
It's impossible. So that has to be the new format of spreading your message and getting people on your team, the high school football team, the proverbial one. That's how you got to recruit people. You got to get them to become family members, become team members, feel like they're not customers but members of your organization, and bring other people on board.
What's funny to me as a guy who talks to a lot of people is when I talk to people that you would think are left, right? Or you think wouldn't support our industry. It's funny when you get on the phone with them, they're like, "Hey, listen, we want to support what you're doing," or "Hey, we're behind you. I'm going to send you a fucking pallet of whatever. Here's a check." But they can't openly. So they're prepared to alienate all you guys, your entire segment.
Yep.
Think about it from that perspective. Like if I'm the left, I'm prepared to say, 49% of you, or 51%, depending on how you feel, where we sit, don't agree with you, or we don't want to be a part of what you're doing. They're prepared to cut a limb off. And the only way to push back against that is to push into them.
Right.
And push into the, whatever it is, 9 million Brady, 10 million new gun owners, Scott, whatever's out there, you know what I mean? And that's what you have to keep doing. You just have to put your head down and keep banging on it. And that's your responsibility now as a company. That's the way I see it. And that's your contribution to the NRA. That's your contribution to the NSSF is we need to bang on this. We need to do events just like we're doing tomorrow. And come on in. The water's warm.
Right.
And getting more brands to do it. And understand that that's okay.
Yeah, not be afraid of it.
And not be afraid of it. And I feel like that's, when I started this show, as you all know, because I talked to all of you individually, when I said, "Give me money." And you all said, "John's fucking crazy." I did it from a place of we need to put more people in front of these issues, these things to talk about, and just open the conversation up. high-profile people, everyday people. We need to just start having the conversation. And I feel like that will go further right now than any $4 million spent in Georgia. That's how I feel. And I think that if every company, I'm a big, go out, start a podcast, start a vlog, get on something else, get on another platform that makes you uncomfortable, get on the TikTok. You know, I called Scott, I think I said it one time, I said, we don't know how that shit works, get somebody to do it. But don't not be there.
Yeah.
Is the key. Don't not be there. And especially if it's just going to cost you manpower, you know, a couple hours. Hey, take these clips I recycled and get them out there.
You could pay someone overseas to do that, like Linked.
I know you know that.
Yeah. And
he's not overseas, by the way.
I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying.
That's my
He
people.
fucking goes
That's
to
my
college
people.
here.
That's my people.
I know,
Don't
he's
worry.
like your cousin. I mean, it's not hard. And companies overthinking. I'll come out and say, we hire people to do clips, right? You all watch our clips. We put clips out there. I mean, you can literally pay a college student right now because they have the knowledge, because that's the industry that's coming up. And I'm not saying they're not worth more or less, but you can pay a college student to create endless amounts of clips for you. Endless. Mm-hmm. Just keep getting the content out there. You never know what will hit. You know, that's your way of chasing the viral moment. Pay a college kid $500 to cut endless clips. Don't have your marketing director do it. It's a waste of time for him. You hope, if he's good. But somebody's got to be doing it, right?
Or her.
Amen. I mean, somebody help me out. I mean, it's just, you know, I feel like it's such a struggle. And I know we got Bruce here. And at some point I want to get his input. Looking at all these other markets and developing these other groups, he's been doing it for years. You know, Dave, maybe we can get your headset on him. You want to get your headset on you?
Come on over.
Yeah, go over there. Just go like that.
Yeah, why don't you just slide in?
You know, looking at other industries, I feel like go over to Dave, and Dave's going to put his headset on you. Put a headset on him. Look at him. It's like the news.
We're going to upgrade this show now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to upgrade.
Man.
Yeah, it's just going up a notch. I just pulled him in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to me, Bruce, but the industries that are afraid to look at all these other areas, I mean, I feel like some are prepared to say, like, we don't care about that side. What is that?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
For the handful of people who don't know Bruce's background,
Hype him.
Why don't you give like a little 20-second of what you've done in your career?
He doesn't want to. He knows I'm controversial.
You got to, because it sets the tone for when people are speaking. Like, who is this guy? Well, here's this guy.
No, you work with a million brand. Go ahead.
So, where do I start? Just Marine Corps, LAP.
No. Yeah, go ahead. Give us the story.
Yeah.
Marine Corps, Beirut. Everyone remembers that, right?
Yeah.
243 Marines and sailors died.
Yep.
Got out, joined LAPD, childhood dream. Had a couple business opportunities, started a pretty successful bodyguard business, a couple other companies, and I met the founders of Quest 6 months in, Quest Nutrition, and I was the most unqualified person, but I became the chief communications officer and got that to $1 billion, and we sold it a year and a half ago for $1 billion cash.
Incredible.
And now I help other brands, and I'm trying to get this podcast off the ground.
Yeah.
You know?
It's all the help I can get. So
Yeah.
glad
You
you're
know, the
here.
help I can get.
Yeah.
But how is it, Bruce, that some brands are so prepared, and I know you're over the border on the other side in California. Why is it so many are quick to just say we're prepared to say that side doesn't exist anymore?
That's a hard one. I don't know.
Well, we asked the tough questions here.
Yeah. Start with the easy ones. Well, look. My friend Aaron Redcon, he made a stance on a position, you know, right or wrong. I admire CEOs and founders that do that because most don't. Because your consumer base, you want to keep everybody happy, but you can't keep everybody happy.
No, I agree. You can't.
Especially if you have a brand.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to alienate anybody.
What do you think about the brands that John and I have spoken about that we've seen have, quote unquote, gone woke? So they don't seem to have that fear of alienating 50%. You know, you look at brands like Nike that did the Colin Kaepernick thing. You look at some of these other brands that have outright gone completely woke and, you know, and made public statements and public marketing campaigns. They've done that with, like, how did they not sit in that room? And how did no one in that room raise your hand and say, you know, if we do that, we might lose like half the country.
You're in some of those rooms.
And it's interesting because some of these high-level founders and some of the brands you just mentioned are multi-billion-dollar brands. I think they have too many yes people. So maybe the founders say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we got to do the right thing here. But yeah, on the other hand,
save a cat.
You have 12-year-old Chinese kids making your product, but you don't think twice about that and paying them $1 a day. But yet you want to become woke and make sure that the NFL is happy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I think sometimes the decision makers are so far out of the atmosphere, or maybe so wealthy, that their lives not affected.
And I think you're right. I think you have a lot of people who are on, let me say, the lower echelon that are afraid to raise their hand and say no, or that's a terrible idea because they're afraid of losing their job.
100%. I mean, 90% of the country's employees, and they got to go with what the man says, right, or the boss says.
Yeah, because their mortgages due or their car payments due. They don't want to sit there and say that's a terrible idea.
But it's kind of cool. You see what's going on with law enforcement around the country. A lot of the unions are pushing back on the vaccination, and a handful of agencies have filed lawsuits against the city. I think they're going to be hard pressed to see that to the end.
Yeah,
I think the struggle there, guys, in this piece, I think they're banging up against something that the anti-police, the anti-military, the anti-movement to those things, whether you call it all lives matter or some lives matter, whatever it is. I think what that bangs up against is some of the initiatives that larger entities want to do, because who's going to do it? Who's going to do it?
Right.
You know what I mean? And they I think where some sides screwed up is they thought the path was through the federal side, but you're just seeing all these guys, like you're saying, at the local level, like, fuck you.
All the sheriffs, which are elected officials, they're pushing back. I mean, they're not enforcing it.
Yeah.
Thank God. I mean, I'm a reserve with LA County Sheriffs, and he said I'm not enforcing it until I'm like drugged down to, with a gun to my head, literally.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Even military leaders have changed. I just posted a quote Norman Schwarzkopf. Remember him back in
Stormin' Norman.
Talked about
Scuds.
Forgiveness. He said, my job is basically to introduce these bad people to God. In other words, basically, like,
where is that general right now?
But now you got generals who are like, let me have lunch with the Chinese and let me tell you what's going on. And let's be. Generals are now woke. I mean, like, what? Like, we used to have warriors running the country.
We just sent tens of millions to the Taliban.
Yeah.
For aid.
Wow.
To the Taliban.
Yeah. Gave them all our military equipment. Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It really is. So let me ask you this. Let's say you were running the country and you kind of were pushing, you supported the vaccines and whatever. How would you have presented it? Would you have presented it in the way that, like, which was horrible? Listen, you have more than 100 employees, you got to do this or else you're fucked. How do you present that in a more diplomatic way?
Listen, everyone has a choice in this country, just like abortion or anything else. I mean, can they mandate it to a company? The problem is a lot of these companies are folding.
They were already on
collapsed,
on the cusp of folding.
And somehow, have we got to this point where we think the government can actually tell you what to do? Like, there's a reason. Yeah. In 1776, thousands and thousands of people died to have established a country of freedom, and now CEOs are like, okay, whatever you say, like, I give up. Thank God. Thank God I know a handful, and we're like, pound sand. Well, I'm not doing it. It's not happening. You're not going to make me. But I think people are confused when Biden says, you have to do this. You don't have to do shit. No. Show me in the Constitution where I have to do anything.
No. Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
But I think it's silly that these retail stores are now saying you got to show a vaccination, because they're the same ones that were crying the blues when they were closed for 12 months and couldn't pay their mortgage. Now they're like, well, we want you to come back, but if you have a vaccination, you should open up your doors to everybody. Be grateful you have a business. Yeah.
Well, New York City's dead.
Yeah.
The people, the few remaining stragglers that made it through the apocalypse of New York City, that were just barely hanging on, now they're completely annihilated.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, New York is going to look like Mad Max within.
It'll be Escape from New York.
Yeah,
literally,
it's bad. So I really feel bad for those small brick and mortar type business owners. They're really going to take a hit. They were already dying. They were already drowning.
But if I was in charge, you'd be the press secretary.
Wow.
John would be. What would you be?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a great chief of staff.
Yeah.
I would make a fucking great chief of staff. I would.
Yeah.
Because I'd be good with people.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, being a good people person.
Yeah.
You know, and be fair. And I think that's what a chief of staff should be.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you hit on a good point of which way rights flow. Since now this is a political podcast that we're doing today.
No.
Which way do rights flow? And I think we've forgotten that. I had a congressional candidate on my podcast the other day, and we were talking about that. Of like, people forgot that we don't go to the government and say, "May I please have this right? May I please go do this?"
Yeah.
That's not the way this works. We tell the government what they're allowed to regulate, what they're allowed to control, and somewhere along this line, we forgot that that's the way it flows. They get their power from us. We don't get our power.
Yeah.
They don't get to tell me as a company, as an owner of a company, that I can be open, I can't be open. This isn't a communist country. You don't get to come down and tell Suresh, you only get to be open for 4 hours a day. That's not how this works. If I want to be open 24/7, I get to be open 24/7. That's my right as a business owner. And I think we've forgotten, and it's weird how this COVID thing is like, oh yeah, here's my rights, just please take them from me. That's not how this country works. That's
It's scary
not,
how fast it happens.
yeah, like quick.
Overnight,
Quick.
people just
Quickly.
collapse and lay down.
Really scary. And you know what? It's funny because it's very, very curious how that if you turn the tables just slightly, the same people who are in support of the one instantly turn around. Like, did you see the meme? There was a woman who was I think she was in Texas. She was supporting the mask mandates for children, and she was supporting the mandatory vaccinations.
Yeah.
Supporting it, and her Facebook page was whatever, all about that. There was a picture of her holding the sign at the abortion against that the Texas law, saying "My body, my uterus, my choice. Keep your hand." Same lady.
Yeah.
Same lady. We're like, are
Not
we?
how this works.
We're like, are we in the?
Where's the box, right? At that point, where's the box?
Are we in the Twilight Zone?
You know,
We have flipped. I tell you this is the best story. A friend of mine's a traveling nurse. She got Employee of the Year last year during COVID. Fought the war. She's
Yeah.
getting terminated now in Santa Monica.
Oh, yeah.
So you went from heroes, CNN was the greatest people in the world, to you're basically fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she won't do it. So she said, I'll probably be unemployed, or I'll maybe go to another country, become a nurse. But that's how the tides quit.
She should go work at Pfizer. There's no vaccine mandatory. there.
Right, or the White House.
Or the White House.
But how quickly the tides turn in this country.
well, it happened to
You're a
Nicki.
hero.
We were saying it earlier.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj. She
Which
just-
thank God for her. So she's come out now, and that's going to really be interesting to see how many people she pulls in.
Well, listen, they were all on her side when she was doing like the live streams with the president. But now it's going to be the same people who supported her. You got to watch the morning talk shows with the cackling women.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck me.
They were all about her. They had her on. They had her on
before she made the statement.
right.
Before this,
But this
yeah.
is before
Yeah.
during the election.
Yeah.
They had her on, and they were buying her like cars, right?
Yeah.
Watch how they watch tomorrow morning how they talk about her.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
Watch what happens.
Do you think she'll collapse, or you think she's going to keep the ball moving?
She'll collapse. She'll last a while, but I think she'll bend.
She'll eventually fold. Yeah, it's too much pressure.
I was wrong.
Maybe connect with the last president. Maybe
I hope
Candace
she
Owens,
doesn't.
They get some movement going. Get some other artists that.
I
are
thought
quiet.
Ice Cube would have been one to
Yeah.
do that when he started coming forward, but I would love to see Nicki stay the course. I think it would go a long way for her, and it would show her individuality, which she's always shown, which I thought was something, a part of her character. And I would hope that would happen. And it's not about political. This affects brands. Nicki Minaj is a brand. All these companies involved in this weekend are brands. Riton's a brand. You have to understand. You try to take a stance because you think that's what's best for, as Brady said, putting food on your table and supporting your constituency, your community of buyers. And you're just like, for better or worse, this is what I think. But now, like, there's this outgoing cry, like we said, overnight, to say, let's go get this guy. And they come with, like, the tiki torches and, like, the pitchforks. And it's all on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else. And it's like, what the fuck? We'll just eat everybody, right?
Yeah.
But in Hollywood, and you're a guy who's around town, Bill Maher was a guy who started speaking up. He started saying, like, cancel culture. Like, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Who's next? I need a list. I need to know, like, well, we got a panel here that makes the decision.
How do I
Like,
know?
You know, are they subterranean lizard people? What? I mean, You know, I know you rub elbows with some of these people, Bruce, and I hate to pull you into this, but I mean, do you find yourself in a lot of these conversations and being like,
Absolutely.
hey?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, the problem is when you're in business, like I said, we got to please everybody. But yeah, I'm a little outspoken at times. And I realize sometimes I speak to the wrong people.
Yeah, it's got to be, at some point, it's about your biology and survival.
Yeah. But at some point, you also don't care. I mean, maybe I don't want you to be my customer if you're that, way, you know?
You know, being in California, and we were talking about this earlier when Dana was here.
Yeah.
Dana White.
I just realized I got 2 guys from Jersey on this.
Who's the other Jersey guy? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, forgot about it.
What exit? So
Jersey Shore ruined us.
Oh, I know.
They trashed us.
Awful. But, you know, I miss the days when, like, shows on MTV were the biggest problems in our country,
Right?
you know?
Yeah.
The
Snooki
Jersey
fighting
Shore,
with her.
Snooki and Paulie and all that. So, Dana was just here, and he mentioned...
He was here today?
Yeah, he was here. Yeah, he was in here. Oh. Yeah, he was, and he called during the beginning of the show. It was awesome. But we were talking. We had the conversation. A bunch of us had the conversation about how your governor just essentially got through the recall vote.
Yep.
Okay.
Slid by.
And
God.
how he actually, despite all the things that have happened in the state over the last year, has somehow, some way, gotten more support by the numbers in the voting than he originally did when he got voted in. Although homelessness is out of control, unemployment's out of control. He put in mask mandates, but then was seen in one of the nicest restaurants in the country with a whole
French Laundry.
Laundry
That's
with
where
a
he's doing a celebration
whole group of people unmasked.
Bruce goes on Tuesdays.
And
The biggest unemployment scandal in the country. Prisoners were getting unemployment and EDD benefits.
Correct.
All under his umbrella.
Yep. So now, and somehow, despite all of that, the state is falling apart.
Yeah.
He somehow got more votes than he did when he first. So, as someone who lives in the state of California, when we were talking about marketing and branding and how do you pivot around, how do you, as a resident of that state, move forward now? Like, do you have faith in anything that state is going to do moving forward?
I don't really have any faith in the government. It's interesting because I get asked that all the time, including that the wildfires are out of control because he's never allotted the millions of dollars to clear the forests.
Correct.
So now they're scrambling to save half the states that's burning. You almost have to check out emotionally and realize, like, I love my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get up, work out, and Marine Corps. I very deep in law enforcement support. I almost have to stay within my community and realize that there's a lot of bad shit that happens here, and a lot of weird people.
The question I want to ask all you guys is, does the pendulum swing back? I want to start with Scott. Does it swing back at some point?
I think so.
Oh, it's got to. Are you?
I don't.
Fucking voice of doom.
I don't.
We're going to implode.
We were talking about this earlier before we came over here. You know, there's people that I know that used to pretty much vote all on the left side, but they keep pushing and pushing and taking, that these people are starting to say, what the hell are we doing? We're giving up all of our freedoms. We're giving up this. And I see friends that I know posting on social media things that I never thought I would have seen from them. So I think eventually they're going to take this too far.
I don't. I don't see it. What do you think?
I'll throw it out there. If you look at history, we tend to go one extreme to the other. It is kind of that ebb and flow of it where we go 4 years of one president and 4 years of another, and then 8 years of another and 8 years of another. It does tend to balance it out. To Scott's point, it does. This is an extreme, man. This is to what you're getting at is this is an extreme I don't think we've ever seen, and I don't know how it comes back
Well,
from
I guess
that. But
even if it comes back some, we still end up
yeah,
A little better.
yeah,
a little bit better, but we're still going to be way worse than when we started. So
Yeah.
maybe
right.
4
to your
steps
point,
back.
I don't think after the last election it will be allowed to come back.
Ooh.
I don't think it'll be allowed to come back. I don't think the other side will allow it to come back. We've seen it now in the national election. We've seen it, I think, in California.
Right.
And we've seen it in some other more localized where despite overwhelming odds, the results are like, wait, hold on, wait a second. You know, winner by a zillion votes. What do you mean zillion votes? There's only 100,000 people in the county. How did the person win by 2 million votes? You know, so we're seeing these things repeatedly, and nothing's being done about it.
Right.
So why would they stop doing it? So, yeah, I believe we've gone 4 years, 8 years, go back and forth. I don't think we're going to see that anymore. I don't think they're going to allow it. And I don't think anything's going to be done about it. I really don't. I think I don't think we'll ever have an election in this country ever again unless something drastically changes about the way we vote. Let's face it. American Idol and America's Got Talent have a better voting system than how we vote for president. Yeah. It's scary. It's scary.
Well, and I'll throw this out there, and I said this the other day when I was doing another person's podcast, and I said, isn't it sad that take the state of California, there were 9 million people that voted? What's the population of California? 30-something million people?
Something like that, yeah.
There's places around the world where people will stand in line for days, where whole battles have been fought for decades over the right to elect your government. And yet we now live in, and I brought this up, California's, I don't know what the latest, but eighth largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
And we're electing the leader of that in the form of recalling Newsom the other day, and we had 9 million people vote out of 39 million people. So the problem isn't not just the voting in which way and get people out there, but we live in a country where we take for granted our ability to even go vote.
I think if the left truly wanted to make change, they would have a cap on how much your net worth is before you get elected. I'll say it again. I think if the left truly wanted to make change, if they truly wanted to service the unfortunate, they'd say, you know what? We're going to make an effort and we're going to cap the income.
I've never seen a group of people who are so anti-old rich white men
that are all old rich white dudes.
that always elect old rich white men. It's the most. It's like the most bizarre thing in the world. Like I'm like, well, is everyone on drugs or something?
It's the only job where you go in for $175,000 a year and you become a multimillionaire. Every single one of them, multimillionaires.
I mean, listen, I'm not talking bad or anything, but this is all fact. This is all out there. We all know this guy.
I just had McAllen come out of my nose.
Oh my God! You're adding water to it. That's why it's a McAllen. You have a man who's been in politics for 50 years. He's never made more than $175,000, $174,000. However, he owns 4 multi-million-dollar
Nobody cares. Yeah, nobody looks into it.
He has a net worth of I don't know how much, and he alleges his wife was a school teacher and all. And that's beautiful. It's great. We need teachers, but they don't make a lot of money. We know that the teachers are underpaid, and I support amazing teachers. But no one is asking the question, wait a second, how, if you've been in politics your whole life, how are you a gazillionaire?
You're worried about Trump's tax returns.
And they're worried about Trump's tax returns.
Oh, my God.
You know what? I'd like to see Fauci's tax returns.
10%.
Yeah.
I would like to see where his bank accounts have been funded from.
Cool.
Over the last 10 years.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Can we see Fauci's tax returns?
He's got more sponsors than I do.
You got a toilet paper sponsor in there or something.
He's got checks coming from Wuhan. I mean, he's got checks from all over
Coming
the world.
from Wuhan.
Bank of China. I mean, it's
Oh,
crazy.
my God.
And then you got 10% for the big guy. He's been doing that for 50 years. I mean,
big
that's
guy.
I know. That's what they called him in the emails. The big guy. It's like it's in the emails.
What about? And I brought this up the other day. What about prerequisites? As business owners around here, would you go hire a replacement for you and be like, you know what? And everybody's gonna know what I'm talking about. You've been a waitress for the last 20 years, last 5 years. You know what? Come run my company. Yet we do that with our politicians, and no one seems to give a shit about that, right? We were talking about this on a podcast the other day, getting some laughs back there, because literally you can be a waitress, and maybe that's great because our country is that way, but you could be a waitress and all of a sudden become a politician and start leading, but you've had no leadership experience.
Right.
You can be the commander-in-chief of the military and never served in the military.
Yep.
How is that possible that that's even allowed? And why? And maybe, I don't know, if we're talking about fixes for the government, fixes for some of this shit, put a prerequisite in the same way any one of us would do when someone applies for a job. But yet our government doesn't do that.
Everyone knows that if you want to be president of the United States of America, it's not going to happen unless you're a multimillionaire. You got to like start out.
The barrier of entry is too high.
It's too high. The average guy or average woman who is smart, educated, maybe has a business and, you know, has done some good things in their life, but if they don't have the liquidity to make a run at it, they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it. And that's really sad, because the people who really should make a run at those things don't. And then, of course, what happens to you after you get to that position is so not worth it that so many great people are like, I don't want to.
Zero chance.
Yeah, no way. No way. They're going to like dig up something that happened 40 years ago. I looked at a girl wrong at the water cooler. So so no one wants to deal with that.
Right.
No one wants to deal with that. You know, so who do you have? You have the career people that have been in it forever, that like have done nothing, and they just keep going. They keep going doing nothing. You know, and people are like, oh yeah, this is good, this guy.
And
Memories are short, though. It's crazy.
yeah,
I know.
They played some videos of Biden back in the day saying some really racial.
I was number one in my class.
I know, but then all of a sudden, like, no, that was 30 years ago. It's all good. He's not racist
He's
anymore.
not good. He took a bath.
No, Suresh is now.
Yeah,
Now
Suresh
I'm the racist. Now I'm the racist. You missed the part where like all these people on like social media will call me a racist if I say anything that is slightly outside the scope of the narrative. And I'm like, do they even look at me? Like, you know, who?
That's what they said about Larry Elder.
Yeah.
So he goes,
He wasn't black
I'm
enough.
as black as I get. Like,
Yeah. And so that's the go-to line, right? Like if they don't,
They need him like running through the street eating chitlins and hot sauce. You're not black till you do something like, you know what I mean?
I literally, this is hand to God, and I'll find it. I was on Facebook Live, and I was in my Jeep. And you could tell I was in my Jeep because you could see the back tire of the Wrangler. He's
got a Jeep.
I was talking about something. Bro, this is God's honest truth.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was, and someone commented. I'm not even going to believe a word you say. You're clearly a traitor, brainwashed. You're on the other side because you driving a Jeep, and real black people don't drive Jeeps.
Oh, God.
Have we got completely mental now? Have we completely lost our
You're driving the wrong car.
You're not driving the right car. I'm like, what am I supposed to be in, an Escalade with spinners? What am I supposed to be in?
it's an Impala with a spare tire.
Yeah, like Axel Foley. That same beat up Chevy Nova.
I'm like,
That's crazy.
we've gone into the twilight zone, and they're all about like anti-oppression and peace and love and equality. Yet the second you like say something or you're driving the wrong car, they don't know what to say. So they're like, you're a racist, or you're a sellout, or you're an Uncle Tom, and you're like, wait, what? What are you talking about here?
What color's your Jeep?
Gray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gray.
Yeah, well, I can see now why they can't.
I was wondering. You're kind of safe color.
Oh man, I was
There we
like,
go.
Wow.
so you know, you like that's where you start realizing you're dealing with mental illness of some sort,
For sure.
on that end, and to try to fight that is only going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll give you guys an example. We joke about Beverly Hills Cop. We were watching it the other day, and I said, that movie could never exist today. That could never exist today.
Listen,
decades ago.
I was watching Chris Rock the other night.
Oh.
Fire.
I don't even think he performs anymore, can he? With the shit he says about the police.
Who the fuck no?
Think about it. Seinfeld wouldn't make it today.
Yeah, you're right.
Seinfeld wouldn't make it today.
Mainstream from 20 years
No
ago.
soup for you.
Yeah, none of that.
you
Yeah,
couldn't
none
call
of that
something a
would
soup
would
Nazi.
exist
No.
today because the cancel culture would go after it, and they'd be eliminated. We got rid of Mr. Potato Head.
But can I-
mean, come on.
Yeah, I still have my box of Uncle Ben's rice in my cupboard.
Oh wow.
Let me.
I'm not giving. I'm selling it on.
This is a serious
That's
question.
real. No, it's real.
And I'm asking this in the room.
Yeah.
I'm asking this in the room. The other day, I was food shopping.
Oh wow.
And I saw the new bottle for
Aunt
Aunt Jemima, which is like the something trading company, or the I don't know what it's called, the something Mills or what, I don't know what.
Oh
it's,
yeah, General Mills maybe.
I don't know
Kellogg.
what. It's the something company, okay? And they changed the label on the bottom. And I looked at it and I was like, that move helped people of color anywhere. How did that is a police officer now not going to maybe shoot someone that doesn't deserve to be shot because they changed the bottle? One, give me an example of a single person of color over the last 100 years that somehow had something bad happen to them as a result of Aunt Jemima being on the bottle of pancake syrup.
Right. And the story goes, her grandkids and grandkids, she's been financially set their whole generational
Right.
because of that. And they were like flipping out, like, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Our great grandma was
Even the people, the family
Yeah.
was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
So that's where we are, like the middle-aged white women calling me racist on social media for saying, I think that, or that doesn't align with what they're saying, and it's the same thing. Okay, you want to change the bottle of pancake syrup. To what end? What does it do for people of color? If you truly are, if you're just going to make it up and say, well, that's racist, why? We don't know why it's racist, but we're going to say it is. And okay, but what does that do for anyone? Does that help anyone in the inner city? Does that help anyone increase the high school graduation rate? Nothing. If anything, I walk down the aisles in the supermarket now, and any black face that you used to see has been eliminated from the aisles, and it's all white people.
It's like they go in a back room and they say, we got to get rid of all faces. Let's just go. Sell. Like it's like some type of.
The only thing I saw is the white dude who looks like George Washington on the Quaker Oats. I'm buying my oats. He's got the hat.
Is he still
Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, he's still on.
Is he still around? Like I'll see him next week.
They haven't hung him. Well, Wilford, he just passed away.
I know. Diabetes.
One of my favorite guys. I liked him.
I liked him too.
He was good in the firm.
Yeah.
But like no one's really seeing it. Like the firm. All the quote unquote black products or the things that involve black people, Uncle Ben's, Aunt Jemima, have all been eliminated.
It's almost going backwards.
But they haven't eliminated any of the products that have white people.
You're right. It's not changed anything in the world.
No, it has not done anything.
I want to ask Bruce, as the resident senior man, as a brand, I think you gotta toe the line, right? I think you gotta toe the line. You have to be careful going full on woke, right? Like I think you
for
have.
a brand, you have to. Unfortunately, even if, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, even Amazon and the wealth that they have, the Walmart family, they have to appease a lot of the country, right?
Yeah.
They're not stupid.
Not stupid. I mean, Walmart, I would think. I know. I saw that deep breath.
Yeah.
You would think, right, would understand. But they're still running around in their smocks chasing people down like, they turn into like a mini militia. And that's what scares me with some of these big brands. They turn into like militias.
Yeah.
And how do you balance that and keep the individuality, which allows the growth?
Well, you look at Walmart, and we're talking about Walmart, and whether you like the company or not, they employ a large amount of minorities. Okay, so now
And obese white people.
Yes, yeah, and that just we've seen it. Everyone's seen it. It's not a knock against people who are overweight, but we've seen it. So let me ask you this, because you've been in the business for a minute.
Oh, wow.
Now the mandate is going to say Walmart has to mandate that their employees get vaccinated. Walmart has countless African American employees, or black, let me just say black employees. The vaccination rate among black people is less than 30%.
Yeah.
So is Walmart going to fire all those people and put tens of thousands of black Americans out of work because they're not vaccinated?
No.
Like, if you're with Walmart, what are you saying in that boardroom?
What are they saying? The problem is that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So these corporations are tense because the president says it, and I don't know what they say. They could, I guess, mandate testing.
Yeah.
I guarantee they're going to offer free vaccination to all their employees.
Right.
To try
Yeah.
and entice them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And $100.
I mean, the vaccination.
And $100.
The vaccinations are.
You got the number right.
They're-
$100.
No. The
$100, we'll rob everybody.
Wait, are they free anyway?
The vaccinations are free anyway. You get a free donut. You get a free sandwich. You get free weed. They're giving
You get free weed.
Despite all of that, I'm not. John, am I kidding? We saw the sign for giving away cash. Besides saying we'll give you cash, we'll give you a chicken sandwich, we'll give you donuts, we'll give you weed.
No
get
hot sauce? I'm not in.
Still,
Woke
Still
now.
people are
still
pushing.
less than 30% of the African American black population is
Because
vaccinated.
they weren't hot,
'Cause I-
spicy chicken sandwiches, right?
That's so wrong.
I'm almost enticed to get it. If I can get that
Right?
package, I might kick it.
Right? So it's like, you're like, wait a second.
Package. Like you're
know.
retired. Like your parachute out of.
Can I get a box of pink box too on the way out?
Spoken like an
Give
executive.
you a pink box donut and a
I'll
free
take that package.
But I gotta
Hey,
tell you,
that's a Casio calculator watch. We're gonna throw that in too.
Brady just shamed me into destroying the calculator. I had a calculator incident earlier. He goes, "What are you doing
Wait, you
with
have a
it?"
calculator?
Jeez.
He had
This
one.
is a calculator. It's a computer.
I know.
No,
Blow
legit.
me.
It's broken half in the garbage.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that was a
You're right. I don't know what's going to happen with that. People are not going to take it. I don't think they're going to be able to fire them. They'll have a class action lawsuit.
yeah. It's gonna be.
Well, that's what's coming. Is the class action stuff. That's what's coming. It's already happened. Some states already suing somebody. It's already starting to proliferate. And I think that's what's going to happen is you're going to start to see, like these nurses, they got the bread.
Oh, they're going to.
They ain't fucking around. A lot of these nurses. I'm having one coming on. Remember, I have that one that wrote the book.
Yeah.
Yep.
The thing of it's going to be the Biden administration, government, whoever you want to call it, right, left, doesn't matter. They know that they can drag this out long enough. The courts will take long enough that they will force compliance before the court says, no, that was unconstitutional, and go, oh, okay, we'll stop after we already got what we want. They're playing a political game.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Not wrong. That's scary.
That's
As
terrifying.
it is.
Yeah.
They kind of lawsuit you into submission. It's just as brands out here, how you function, how you survive. Just wait as it keeps coming. It's gonna keep coming. You know, soon, as I've said it, they're gonna tax the fuck out of the ammo. People go to the range less now as it is because it costs you. I mean, you're flossing today if you got some wood and you got some ammo.
Right.
I mean, I'm dead serious.
Paint now. Paint's the new thing. You
Paint?
can't get paint.
Paint stuff?
Yeah, paint. Like painting your house?
Yeah.
Yeah,
gotta
paint's
paint
like
guy.
the hot commodity now.
I
You
just
can't-
painted the inside of my house. It was expensive.
Me too.
You got
But
ahead of
now
it,
you can't
hopefully.
even get it. Now you can't even get it.
Is it a shortage of the
Yeah,
raw
it's-
goods?
They don't know. It's just a paint shortage now.
Maybe that's what they're making the vaccine out of. So they ran
Probably.
Always ahead of the curve,
The
Bruce,
paint-
with the
the
paint.
paint-
I just painted my eye. I just
got
missed
it.
the wave. I just missed the paint lockdown.
I went to LAX and bought a bunch of ammo. So
Here, yeah, relax,
See,
of
you're
course.
good.
Yeah, Scott just redid his whole warehouse, and he like did a beautiful office, a place to record, and he's like, the lumber costs. That's really, you're gonna be a millionaire.
ridiculous.
That's how you got that black card. Is the lumber, the fucking lumber.
He got 500,000 miles after that.
Yeah, the lumber. He's flying.
buy a 2x4, you get 100 points. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's like,
The lumber cost. It is though. It's through the
crazy.
roof. You just went through this. How much was wood?
I didn't even look.
I think they said it's come down a little bit though. It peaked out.
It did peak.
I think it came down a little bit.
Yeah, and there's a move not just to commoditize people, and not just to commoditize commodities. It's to commoditize people too, and have that approach of like, we're gonna have this market segment, and these people have, we're gonna have the 2 gender people over here, the 5 gender people over here, little Susie over here that got 9 toes. Everybody's gonna have a box, and some people just don't want to be in a box. And I think there's a lot of that. The marketing, we're our own worst enemy in some ways. Marketing and in some places the news want to put you in that box.
Yep.
And that's how they segment you. It used to be, hey, we used to go through this black, white, whatever. That was an easy box to put people in. And that wasn't right. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't right. But that's what people gravitate towards is how can we place, people in boxes? And I think there's things they didn't account for, like the 9 million new gun owners that walk the streets today. The only reason they haven't banged on that is because they don't know who they are.
Right.
They want to know who they are.
Yeah. And the divide is like, it's like what was that movie, Usual Suspects? The greatest trick he ever played was making people he didn't believe he didn't exist, the devil, right?
the devil.
Kaiser Soze. The greatest trick that I think is happening right now is under the umbrella and the guise of unity, they're bringing back segregation. And no one is seeing it happen. And it's absolutely terrifying. And it's happening right under people's noses, and nobody is seeing it happen slowly but surely every single day. And there's people who are just silent about it, the people who are seeing it happening, and they're like, it's happening around us, so I don't know, maybe it's a good thing.
They didn't account for the people that have gone out and bought guns, and a lot of them are from the black community and from minority communities.
Tons.
They went out and purchased all these firearms, and what the thing is, what they don't understand is people who get that right and take advantage of that right tend to not give that right back.
Yep.
And that's how the pendulum swings.
Yeah.
That's how you get it to start to swing back. Now that they're in our clutches and we have their eyeballs, because there's never been more eyeballs on the gun industry because of purchases than there is now. We have a responsibility to continue to push against that and show them that message. And I think that's important. Because what happened in California, a lot of people woke up, and I'm sure, Bruce, you saw this. They didn't want to wait 10 days to get a pistol. They didn't want to wait 20 days to get a pistol.
Absolutely.
They were like, what? That's a law?
You're right.
You know? There was a lot of that, a lot of that going on.
Yeah,
For sure.
Their eyes were open to the fact that a lot of these laws have been kind of just slipped in and they weren't paying attention, and now it applies to them. Now they don't like it.
But then they go and reelect Bucky Beaver with the teeth there, Gavin Newsom. I mean, have you seen a worse set of chompers? Who did his veneers?
Unreal.
Stevie Wonder?
They're awful.
I got crowns better than him.
Yeah, they're awful.
You shitting me?
They're awful.
In L.A., you got that free. For sure. There's got to be a paper.
Yeah, you got that for sure. There's a paper trail.
There's a paper trail somewhere.
Paid for by the taxpayers.
Seriously. But it's crazy. So,
You know, but what's crazy is when you talk to, like, we have a friend in Jersey that owns a gun shop, and
Oh, God.
he has a successful gun shop. It's funny how many people truly believe that the people who go commit crimes with a gun got that gun by walking into a gun shop and presenting an ID.
9 forms of identification of blood.
And they purchased it at a gun shop, or they purchased it at a gun show, and then they took that gun and said, okay, I'm going to go rob somebody now. There's people who truly believe that's how and that's what you have to stop, because that's how bad guys get their guns. And it's absolutely mental that there are people out there that firmly believe that's how the criminals get their weapons, and that's why we need stricter gun laws.
And this goes back to earlier when we were talking about the whole putting firearms on our shirt. And you know, we talked about people asking. I've learned that having those conversations, people are so misinformed of how it actually works. You know, they buy the mainstream media's narrative that you order a gun online and you ship it to your house, and voila, you go commit your crime.
Yeah. Let's go to the liquor store.
Yeah.
We can rob them now.
That's it.
But I feel like over the last year and a half, people have been more inquisitive on, so how does it actually work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Good
And
point.
We've been able to have conversations like, well, this is how it really works. And, you know, it's just crazy how misinformed they are.
And it's not just misinformed. It's they swear they know the truth and they're right. It's not like they kind of think that that's how. They're like, no, that's how it works, and they will fight you on it.
Right. Even though they've never
you're
been
like,
through that process.
you're like, wait, no, that's not how it works. Like, just like you know, and you see this every day in life with people, but they don't want to back down from that because they don't want to like sit there and say, oh, well, I was wrong, and I don't want to now I'm going to look like a fool, so I'm just going to maintain
pushing it.
I'm going to just keep pushing what I've been saying, because if I back down or I say, oh, then you're just admitting you were a fool and you were wrong and you were preaching something wrong, you know. So there's a lot of people like that they have that pride. They don't want to back. Like, we were at a restaurant last night. We walked up and the manager said, you know, for dinner, the manager said, oh, you know, it was the first night at the restaurant.
Yeah, very Vegas thing. We did a very Vegas thing last night.
We were the first table on the opening night.
It's a Vegas weekend.
Yeah, opening night, brand new restaurant. They had never served a meal before, a grain of rice before. So we were the first ones in the brand new restaurant, grand opening, and we were the first table sat down. When we were there, the manager said we were there a little early, and they're like, listen, we don't open till 6. So you have to wait a minute or whatever. So okay, and this woman walked up with this guy and tried to walk in, and I don't know if you heard me say, I said, oh, they said they don't open till 6, and she said they open at 5.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh,
She came for you.
oh wow. She's like, they open at 5. I said, oh, I said, well, they open at 5. And then she tried to walk in and she got stopped. Right? And so it was in that blockade hit. But in life, most people don't hit that blockade. They just keep going. They just keep
Say whatever the hell they want.
They open they open
yeah.
at 5. And they keep going. Oh no, you guys are open at 5. You're open.
She probably needs 4 sessions of therapy after you said that to her.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I know. She
And a dog.
crayons and a puppy. So but in life, there's no stop. People just keep.
Yeah.
Just perpetrating that same lie and that same misinformation, and then it's made worse by things they see on TV every night in the media. And then obviously your social media feed is aligned with what they know that you want. Like a buddy of mine who is a good friend of mine, but he's I've known him for years, but he's very liberal. He's very much on the left, and we get along great. And friends for over a decade. I showed him a story on my phone that popped up in my feed, and he said, "Oh, I never heard that. It was vaccine virus related." He said, "Oh, I didn't even hear that." I said, "Well, it's all over Facebook. I've been and he's like, "Well, I didn't see it at all." He showed me his Facebook feed, and then he showed me his Apple News feed.
Oh wow!
It was completely different. We both opened our Apple News and our news feeds at the same time.
If he opened yours, he'd probably melt.
Oh my God, he'd probably die. He'd probably die 1,000 deaths. And so you look at that and you're like, some of these people aren't even getting the stories that we're seeing.
It's so curated perfectly for the narrative that they
keep
see.
going.
It helps with the marketing. Like I said, it's fitting people in boxes, and you have to understand that's what's going on. That's why you can't stop. And that's why all the more I tell a lot of brands, you need to put out more. We have this conversation. You need to put out more content in more places. You don't understand. You're fighting
Control
for
your
that
own
feed.
message. Yep.
Yeah. What I would like to see more of are the stories of the people who somehow, some way protected themselves or their loved ones. And the stories where you've had a couple of people on where there were women who utilized a firearm to protect themselves, their family, whatever. More of those stories, because those are the stories that I think can hit home for the average everyday person.
Yeah.
We
To say,
don't-
oh my God, that could have happened to me.
We don't see them because the entities that we support and pump a lot of money into, as you know, this production costs money. A lot of shit in here costs money. The people that we pump money into, all the entities that all of you have, we're part of the problem. We're feeding an entity that eventually takes your money. And this is what they do, guys. They take your money and they say, how can we get more membership? We're going to give away a pouch and a bag, and we're going to support our entity because we know better what to do with the money than you do. Imagine how insulting that is. If I'm a business owner and I'm Scott, I'm Brady, I'm Suresh, I'm like, fuck you. I know exactly where to put my money, and I know exactly what to put it into, and that's the responsibility you all have.
And you made the good point of certain people that they've brought on as the ambassadors.
Oh, Christ.
And some of the people are good people, but they're just not the people that the average American can relate to. It's great to have someone who is a high level decorated, ninja, Navy SEAL, Green Beret, Army Ranger, whatever you want to say it. But the average American dude can't relate to that dude because he's like, I'm not a ninja. I'm an accountant. But you know what? I think I'd like to own a gun, maybe protect my family. And, I think I'd maybe like to
disconnect.
Go hunt. But if you're putting up the tactical military ninja that no one can relate to because that person's like a top 1% tier 1 operator, well, you're losing out on the people who feel like, I don't know if that's ever going to be me, So the best companies put the average everyday people in front of the people. Someone who says, oh, I think that could be me.
Well, there was a lot of people, if you remember, and I'll dumb it down even further. There was a lot of people, like after American Sniper came out, they were snipers. We need to be snipers. Sniper. You're a sniper everywhere you went. If I heard sniper again, I was going to puke. And I said to an owner one time, I said, do you want to sell 1 rifle or 50 rifles? They said, what do you mean? How many snipers are on a SWAT team?
3, 4.
How many snipers are in a unit?
It's a handful.
Yeah. Handful? You've been out there. How many snipers do you have at border? Handful?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? Do you want to sell a product? Now, if you want to specialize, I'm all for that. Specialty item. But do you want to sell a gun to everybody? Do you want to talk to everybody, or do you want to talk to 5 people?
Right.
If you banking on 5 people supporting your business, you're a better man than I. You're a better man than I.
I bought a sniper rifle. After
I'm
that.
sure. Oh yeah, and be a sniper. Everybody's a sniper.
But you saw the video. I hit it 800 yards
Everybody's Hollywood.
with a right-on optic. See?
With a right on up.
800 yards.
That's a good plug. Hey,
I did it. I
Listen.
did. It's on video. It happened because it's on Instagram.
Now, again, we've been going forever. I want to ask you guys this. I want to, as brands, and you're all brands in this industry, that all these issues we talked about are kind of closing in, and like they're like a dark cloud surfacing around us. When is the Grim Reaper going to come, and what's the next shoe to drop? Right? I'm waiting for the day they're like, yep, you can't mold steel into anything round or long. It's just like that. It's like, so it's like any way they can, clap back.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you guys, as brands, how do you continue to insulate yourself from these things as you know and believe that there's no faith in the entities that you're supposed to be paying to support you? How do you insulate your employees that rely on your income? What's the best way? And are you doing it?
I think full circle. I mean, that's how this thing started, right?
Yeah.
We're doing stuff like this. This was something that came up, and all of us, we want to do these all over the country. We want to do these, it's insulating away from letting other people have control over the message that your brand puts out. We talk about this all the time. It's not just creating content, but it's creating the message. We know those talking points. We know what gets out, but if I can be the one who says them, then I know it's the right message that gets out. So that's how I insulate that.
And you know what, Brady? And I want to answer each of you individually as you give your answers and give you my take, because I feel like we're knocking on the door, but there's that reluctance within some of the bigger institutions to say, you know what? These guys are going in the right direction. We need to talk to these guys. None of you will get a call to speak at SHOT Show. None of you guys will get a call to go upstairs and be on a panel. None of you will. They'll get 4 of their friends, and they'll get somebody's cousin and a nephew and somebody we never heard of. And that, to me, is one of the biggest failures. They need to look at who's pushing into new industries, who's changing the game, who's doing things different. Because as a CEO, you want to learn those things. I want to learn them. I'll go sit in. And that's one of the big failures. I want to ask you the same question. How? How do you protect your brand?
You talk about the big, conglomerates and the industry that within where we're in. A couple of years ago, our PR person reached out to one of these large organizations that has one of these large.
I thought I was your PR person.
Shows, and you're the marketing guru
junior.
behind the scenes.
Junior.
And said, our CEO told him about the company. Started from the ground up, grew it to this, multi-million-dollar organization. But on top of that, he was a 13-year law enforcement veteran. He officer of color that has dealt with adversity within the police department, outside the police department, yada yada yada, and he could speak to law enforcement from a couple of different angles and things like that. And the response back was, "Yeah, no, we're looking to bring someone in to speak that is not going to maybe cause any kind of rift or anything like that."
Wow.
And it was like, so they brought in someone to talk about mag pouches instead, to this room of law enforcement, mag pouches on the belt, and how to wear your mag pouch or something, something stupid like
mundane.
that. And you're like, so they may be woke and they may be try to say they're doing one thing or this is what they want to do, but what the public doesn't see is that email where they say, no, we don't want someone like that talking about that at our trade show. We would rather have someone on the 3rd floor where no one even knows where it is talking about you're in the attic. You're in the attic where no one even, and we're gonna put someone to talk about mag pouches or boot liners for cops in that, instead of someone who had a legitimate law enforcement experience that could teach you something. I said, we have an issue with unarmed black men. I could teach about interaction with people of color and things like that. I had the whole thing put forth that I would speak about, and they're like, "Yeah, no, mag pouches." So you're like, what?
What I see there, to answer you if you're done, I don't want to interrupt you, but I see we're not catering to growth. Like we talked about earlier with marketing, we're catering to safety. We're catering to stagflation. We're catering to stagnation. We're catering to all those things when that happens because, let's have this guy over here because it's safe. And that's where growth gets inhibited. When you lift weights, you only build muscle how? By tearing down the previous muscle.
Yeah.
Okay? Over time. And you have to tear down, and more so now than ever, what you believed was the norm.
Right.
Like I have conversations with you because I just had the sports car guy, but investing in cards, for example.
Yeah.
And for you, that's still a little bit of a bridge too far, but you're starting to get it.
Yeah.
And it's like the tearing down of those walls. Because I gave an example to Suresh. I said, what's the difference between having a Rolex in a safety deposit box or a Michael Jordan rookie card? What's the difference, really? You can go anywhere and say, I have a Michael Jordan rookie card here graded and probably get a hotel room, right? That's the whole idea of having a hard asset, right? Somebody will make a trade with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? I'd argue ammo's the best hard asset to own, but because when it gets to that, you probably need that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that creates the best of both worlds, the need and the supply. So, I turn it to Scott. You have this responsibility to your employees, as Brady said, and to your brand and to the legacy and everything in between. Going forward, how do you protect and insulate all that in this environment where everything's constantly, let's get them?
I think it goes back to something we've talked about before is like the 9 or 10 million new gun owners that we have. How do we turn them into gun enthusiasts? They all bought out of panic, fear, whatever the reason was. Mm-hmm. But as an industry, a lot of times we are bad that, instead of just taking somebody that bought a gun, we'd bring them along slowly. We want them to be 100% bought in to
Day one.
To the entire thing.
And only be on Instagram.
Only be on Instagram and post everything, see everything the way we see it. And I think we alienate a lot of people because of that, because they're like, well, that's too much for me. So,
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So if we don't turn those, this is a perfect opportunity. We have 9 million people, or whatever the number is, that have bought guns. What are we doing to keep them 4 or 5 years from now out shooting at a range for fun?
Right.
And that's something that we try to promote is, I think a lot of times we lose the fun aspect.
Right.
Yes, we buy them for, self-defense. We, want to be snipers. We want to do whatever. But a lot of us got into it because it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snipers. If I ever told someone I was a sniper, they'd probably laugh at me.
I am one. I'm a ninja, too.
Ninja.
I'm everything.
Door gunner. I think you're right, Scott. I think that's absolutely correct. I think, like I said earlier, I think we have a responsibility to push back on that group and push into that group, I should say. Not push back, push into that group and attack it from all mediums, right? Because whether it's a podcast, a vlog, all the different things, I think the big thing is you have to be everywhere. And, it's not just about who has the biggest mailing list. Maybe in 10 years, the biggest thing is text messaging list. We've discussed this many times. Maybe the biggest thing is you don't know. And if you don't know, you can't afford to be in one space. Do you think those 9 million people are only on Instagram and that's where they absorb the content or the message or the narrative that you're putting out? And I think it's a lot of responsibility on all you guys' shoulders, truly, to be able to say, we need to speak to everybody in our ecosystem.
Yeah.
We need to talk
I'll
to
throw
everyone.
that out there. Even if they are on Instagram, they're not getting
Your
we're
feed.
putting
Yeah.
out.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Your
So it
feed.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
They're
that's
not
why
getting it.
And you have to push into that feed, and it has to be about more than mag dumps in a desert.
Yeah, it has to be.
It has to be about more than a girl in a bikini doing a mag dump.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we can be as bad as anybody, that if somebody 10 years ago said something anti-2A,
Get him.
we're never allowed to work with them again.
Yeah.
Where what's the best way to convert? If we can take somebody that had said something anti-2A and we can bring them over to our side, what's a better marketing tool than that?
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best. Yeah.
I had somebody attack me once because I said, look, I think you should be able to obtain a machine gun license. I've talked about this very openly. And I think that process should be a little bit easier. But I also think that process should come with having to take a class. And that started with everybody being like, you want this, you want that, you want regulation, and you want all this. I said, it's not what I want. Actually, I would love to see qualified machine gun instructors teaching people, and people pay them to receive the instruction on how to operate that. That's no different than getting a manual with your fucking microwave.
yeah.
I mean, and the reason I'm for that is because it puts more money into the ecosystem. And it puts more money into the trainer's hands, and it puts them spending more money on your bag or your scope or your this or that, because now you can use another marketing tool which says it's machine gun rated.
Right.
Yeah.
And it sets the user up for success. Mm-hmm. What's going to keep them coming back more than being successful at what they try?
A partner in crime. Bad language.
Yeah.
but they're robbing liquor stores. They're robbing liquor stores.
And the library.
Let me explain something to everybody listening. If you're robbing liquor stores with a gun, the bullets are probably worth more than what's in the register. I mean, I'm being real.
Yeah.
You're better off selling the fucking bullets around the corner.
Most of them are robbing them with empty guns.
Seriously.
At this point, they can't get it.
You know, you look at what companies like BMW has done, where they've now went even lower than their entry level. They now have a 1 Series.
Yeah.
Right? They have a 1 Series BMW to get young people who were typically, when they're at that point where they
were priced out.
Yeah, they were priced out. They had to get a Corolla or they had to get a Nissan Sentra. Now they can slide into a 1 Series with the grand scheme of it. And it's no secret, not like it's sinister. Get them into a 3 Series, get them into a 5 Series, and then ultimately get them into like an M car. Right, that as they grow and they get older into their 40s and 50s, and now they're no longer employed, but they're an owner of a company or they're upper management, whatever, CEO. That is the progression you want, but the focus shouldn't be to get them into the M Series. And you don't ever see a commercial for like an M vehicle.
The problem is the good thing is they get it, Suresh.
They get it.
They're trying to turn a customer into a client, which is what I talk about a lot with all you guys. And it's little things like printing a fucking card the right way. And you're trying to do that. Every brand wants to turn a customer into a client. Why? Because a customer buys once, a client buys forever. Yep. So if they can get you in when you have that first job and you're making 30 grand and you think you're the shit and you're just figuring life out right out of college, hey, I'll buy that 1 Series Beamer. I'm in. And they know you'll come back for a second, third call.
Word of mouth advertising.
Yep. Their friends see it. They pick up their friends. They go to the bar. They go, and they're like, oh wow, you got a BMW? How'd you afford that? Well,
we're going to the Jersey Shore.
The 1 Series, I got it. My payment's only $200 a month.
Yeah.
And that was unheard of for a BMW. So now their friends are like, well, maybe I can afford a BMW. Yeah. And once you're in one, you don't want to drive anything else, so you just, when it's time to turn in that lease or of course you're going to now get another one.
Well, it's sticky.
That's
a car is a sticky product. A house is a sticky product. Those are very sticky products. Who you have your mortgage with, there's a good chance you had your checking account with them, your savings account, your credit card. So mortgages are like the holy grail. It's the stickiest product you can sell, I think, on the planet. Yeah. Because it's the only thing I think you sign up for 30 years for. Right?
Nothing stickier than
besides
this
a wife.
Nothing stickier than this thing. Oh, the wife,
Besides that.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been 2 hours. We want to call it quits? We
Has
good?
It been 2 hours?
Yeah.
Man, that went quick.
Yeah, 2 hours. Listen, we'll wrap. Anyone have anything else to add? No? All right.
Covered it.
Shout out to Riton, shout out to Volquartsen and 221B Tactical. I can't thank Brady, Suresh, and Scott enough. It means the world. And, of course, Bruce chimed in, senior man. And, of course, Dr. Dave producing. Appreciate everyone. Head over to the website, www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. Go check out Galotech, Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, of course, right on 221B Tactical and Volquartsen, and all the brands that support everybody out there in the 2A industry. Please, guys, take a minute. Go support some of those brands. Go share a picture. If you can't buy a scope or a Volquartsen rifle or a 221B Tactical bag, go like a picture. Go share it. Go do something. If you support this, support that.
Or just leave a review on the show.
Hey.
That's it.
I do a terrible job asking for reviews. I say it all the time. And support the show. Appreciate you guys. We're out.
Thank you.
Thank you.